Hello and welcome. This is Wolf Sealander, and we're doing a book review on Why Gold, Why Now by E.B Tucker. I do get Tucker's free newsletter. I don't subscribe to the paid one, and this book reads like his newsletter. There's a lot of entertaining stories, analogies, whatever, stuff to keep you engaged, but I don't get paid by Tucker to do this review. And so this was me. I bought the book with my own cha-ching, and I found it interesting, and we passed it on to someone else who's going to give us a review on it. Thanks for listening. All right, so today we're going to do a review of Why Gold, Why Now by E.B Tucker. And Tristan is 12, and he read the entire book cover to cover twice, and he's going to let us know from a 12-year-old perspective what he thinks about the book.
Hello, I'm Tristan. This is my presentation on E.B Tucker's Why Gold, Why Now. I will briefly sum up each chapter and introduction. I will also share one thing I learned from each chapter and introduction. In the first introduction, The Golden Path, Tucker explains what he will teach in the following pages. He expresses the importance of protecting hard-earned wealth. He tells readers that gold is the only practical way to store wealth. Gold is simple. It's the only asset that doesn't depend on something else for value. Stocks depend on company profits, bonds on coupon payments, apartments need tenants. Gold needs nothing. It's pure, unadulterated wealth. This is how Tucker teaches his readers about gold's stability. He even goes a step further and explains the most practical way to own gold. It doesn't involve actual mining, he says, or worse, betting on the next scoundrel who promises to find gold using your money as a seed capital. Instead, he believes owning gold royalty shares is the most practical option. The thing I learned new in this chapter was the existence of royalties and how they operate. Chapter 1, Human Nature is the Problem, is about the problem with our money currency. Most people fixate on what just happened and miss the big picture, Tucker tells readers. Bailouts get bigger and bigger. The numbers never get smaller. Governments can't resist the temptation to spend, which is why our country debt grows at a terrific pace. These are his facts that prove our country has a systematic problem. I was unaware of the 2020 stock crash until I read this book. In Chapter 2, The Definition of Money, E.B Tucker explains that money must meet 3 requirements to become a currency. It must be readily accepted as a payment, must be a unit of account, and a store of value. Tucker tells readers that the dollar does not meet the 3rd requirement. Gold does. I learned that total debt in the United States has doubled under each president since Reagan. Chapter 3, Sound Money is the Solution, tells that gold and silver have a distinct sound when collided, excluding them from the group of worthless metals such as tin and zinc. I did not know they made money out of tin, but that is not the thing that I want to share. What I wish to share is that I did not know that the U.S. government is not the first to devalue money. In 211 BC, the denaries contained 95% silver. By the end of the Roman Empire, it contained almost none. This is why the empire fell. The dollar is headed that way too. Chapter 4, 1933 Gold Confiscation, tells of FDR's confiscation of gold. Nobody could keep more than 5 ounces. They were to sell the gold for $20.67 an ounce. Then FDR put the price up to $35 an ounce. Though I knew this, I was unaware of his reason for the confiscation. FDR did so to devalue the dollar.
But I thought FDR was a good guy.
Nobody's perfect. I never stopped learning throughout this book. Chapter 5, The Golden Rule, is about Bretton Woods, where the U.S. agreed to give foreign banks an ounce of gold in exchange for $35. Reading this chapter was a learning experience because I had never heard of Bretton Woods. Chapter 6 was similar because it was about Nixon 1971 devaluation, unknown to me until now. Chapter 7, 1970 through 1979, gold gains 1,365%, explains the result of Nixon's breaking the Bretton Woods Agreement. This was major inflation and loss of value from the dollar even after gold was legalized on August 15, 1974 by President Gerald Ford. E.B Tucker explains a quote by George Soros which tied into the 1970s.
And what was that quote from Soros?
There's a bottom, then a test. And it goes hand in hand because gold fell, 400% preceding, it rose 400% preceding the devaluation in 1971. Then it settled down. And the fall was the test, and after those who survived it saw a 721% rally in the following years. Tucker tells his readers, what I learned new was the legalization, which I never realized took so late. In Chapter 8, 1985 Plaza Hotel, he talks of the years trailing the legalization of gold. Then in 1985, after years of the dollar gaining in value, representatives from the 5 largest economies gathered at the Plaza Hotel in New York. They believed the dollar was too strong. They planned a coordinated effort to reduce its value. It was the second devaluation in 15 years, Tucker explains to readers. This was
devaluation of the dollar?
Yes.
Oh.
This was the thing I learned in this chapter. Chapter 9, the inevitable devaluation, speaks of government's temptation that they can't resist, to spend tomorrow's hard-earned wealth in savings today. Before 1913, there was no income tax. The U.S. government has increased taxes throughout the year. According to E.B Tucker, $3.46 trillion was collected in 2019. It tells also of inflation. $1,000 in 1900 was like $30,000 today. The thing I learned was that there was no income tax until 1913.
And hold on, it took 4 years for them to pass income tax. And these days, they can just kind of do it within a few
months.
days, or there are people who decide for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Is that pretty convenient to do it like now, or how they did it back then, where it took forever to raise taxes?
It's less convenient for people nowadays.
It's kind of easier to donate blood, huh?
Yes. Introduction 2 sums up inflation and the importance of gold. Tucker then explains to readers what he and other experts see on the horizon. He asks readers who have preconceived ideas about gold to let them go. For as E.B Tucker says in the first introduction, once the inevitable happens, it's too late to prepare. The one thing I didn't know was that central bankers a few years ago were barely known, but now show up on TV like celebrities, mainly because I don't listen to the news. Chapter 10, the system as you know it is broken, tells of the path of interest rates and how cheap they are. I learned that while debt has tripled, interest rates have stayed the same. Chapter 11, no more recessions, is a serious part of Why Gold, Why Now. E.B Tucker tells of how governments eliminated recessions but started crises. Recessions eliminate weak companies, leaving strong ones operating. Crisis is the cause of governments lowering interest rates so that banks can give a weak company low interest rates too. Crisis follows this. One day, Tucker tells the readers, just as a forest overgrown with dead trees and brush, a crisis so big will come no one will be able to stay in business. The thing I learned in this chapter was that after 2002, there weren't any more recessions.
After 2002? I thought there was one in 2008, wasn't there?
Oh. Maybe I read wrong.
Well,
it could have been 2009.
Okay.
2002 or 2009. Chapter 12 tells of the problems of 0% interest rates. I learned that after years of 0% interest rate, 2% was sky high, while a decade or two before it would have been poetry. Chapter 13 speaks of the government's wish to pay people not to work. This is favoring lazy people and excluding hard workers.
No way.
The thing I learned was all the loans and acts started by the government are the same but are differently named. Chapter 14, Negative Interest Rates, explains why the Fed wants negative interest rates. This, as Tucker says, is fine for the Fed but bad for wealth stores. At the same time, gold receives harsh criticism for being a 0% yielding asset. Even so, I'd personally rather take a chance with gold rather than accept negative interest rates. Because if I were to lend money, I would lose money. I wouldn't get a little bit for blending it. I would never have reached this conclusion without reading Why Gold, Why Now. The entire subject of this chapter was the new thing I learned. Chapter 15, Administrative Measures, speaks of bail-ins. A bail-in is losing access to your bank account. In the beginning, these are called bank holidays, then seizures. Think this can't happen? Tucker asks readers. Think again.
Isn't that what happened in the Depression when they stole the gold and then you couldn't get your dollars?
Mm-hmm. Well, Tucker says it can happen in the U.S. and it's already happened in the European Union in 2013. This was the new thing I learned in this chapter. They had a bail-in in the European Union.
Oh, okay. Did they say which country?
It just said, I think it's a little country.
Maybe it was Greece or something.
This was the new thing I learned in this chapter. Chapter 16, Modern Monetary Theory, speaks of the leverage of debt.
That's also known as MMT.
Yes, that's an abbreviation. The Modern Monetary Theory, the MTT, or MMT. The MMT allows the government to spend money financed by the Fed and they don't have to pay their debt back. The thing I learned is that too much supply with not enough demand is the consequence of using debt to fix every economic problem. In Chapter 17, FedCoin, Tucker warns readers of the danger of a digital currency. This technology is impervious to hackers. Converting, tax evasion, and financial transgressions of any type are impossible. Sounds like science fiction, he asks. It's already in use in private markets today. With a digital currency, governments could see what you buy, when you buy it, where you bought it from, and what you did with it.
Is that convenient?
No.
Why not?
Well, it intrudes on privacy that people do enjoy. The thing I learned in this chapter is that Bitcoin, though no one knows where or how Satoshi Nakamoto, creator of Bitcoin, lives, that Bitcoin was not started by the government, so far as facts show. No one really knows. This was a surprise for me, for governments usually are the ones who create currencies, as far as my knowledge goes. The third introduction sums up part 2. It then once more briefly defines the upcoming lessons. These are when to buy gold, advice on how much to buy, and where to keep it. Tucker even goes a step further and tells readers that in the upcoming chapter, he'll tutor them when to sell gold since nothing is permanent. An interesting fact I learned is that all the gold above ground, made into a perfect cube, would fit inside the infield of a baseball diamond. Chapter 18, How Much Gold is Enough, suggests the amount of gold to buy. Tucker suggests 3% of your net worth to be invested in gold. I learned of the existence of the New York Stock Exchange by reading this chapter. In Chapter 19, Tucker explains that physical gold is the proper physical gold is the right way to invest in gold. He tells of different sizes of bars and what they are worth if gold is worth $1,725 an ounce. I learned a kilogram of gold is only the size of a Hershey bar, but is worth around $56,000, assuming gold trades for $1,725 an ounce.
And gold is a little more than that right now.
Yes. I think it's like 2,000?
300, I think.
Oh no, not 300 amounts.
2,300.
Oh.
About.
Okay. Tucker also warns readers not to mess with grams.
Grams?
Yeah, it's harder to sell if you want to sell. Chapter 20, Common Gold Coins, talks of coins. Tucker suggests the African Krugerrand, Canadian Maple Leaf, and the American Eagle. That is because if you wish to sell, they are more easily sold than other gold coins because they are common. I learned that the Maple Leaf is the purest one, but it isn't very durable. If you were to...
Yeah, because it's pure gold. It's, it's soft.
Yeah, you have to be careful when storing it. Chapter 21, Collectible Coins, talks of collectible coins and how dangerous they can be. In 2002, a 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle sold for $7.59 million. These, Tucker says, are not good for storing wealth. Owning one could land you in a federal prison. The thing I knew was that FDR had all the confiscated gold melted down, which is why a 1933 St. Gaudens Double Eagle is rare.
Isn't that like if people steal gold? Isn't that what they do to like?
That's probably what they did.
To hide the gold, they just kind of melt it down, and you don't know where the gold came from.
I think they have the St. Gaudens Eagle because an employee probably just shoved some in his pocket.
Yeah, there's like 2 or 3 that are out there that can be legally owned. Maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah.
The rest are under lock and key.
I think there's one in like a museum.
Yeah.
Chapter 22, sorry. Gold in your brokerage account warns readers of exchange trading funds that only offer paper gold. These are not to be invested in. ETFs with physical gold are okay. The thing I learned was in 2020, gold sellers sometimes would not accept less than $100 over the spot price of gold. Chapter 23 warns readers of the danger of mining stocks. Mining is such a dangerous business that E.B Tucker does not recommend investing in them. I never knew this, so this therefore is the new thing I learned in this chapter. Chapter 24, the most profitable business in the world, tells of Tucker's favorite way to own gold, royalties and royalty shares. He tells of Franco-Nevada Corp., a very profitable business. He talks of Metallo royalty and streaming. This was started by a friend of Tucker's by the name of Brett Heath. The new thing I learned was that FNC, Franco-Nevada Corp., only employs 26 people, but each person is about worth $1 billion. Chapter 25 sums up the entire lesson of the book. I learned that Tucker rarely invests in exploration companies and warns readers ordering a share of them can be as risky as owning a mining stock. Chapter 26 is the last chapter. E.B Tucker tells readers that looking at the Dow ratio can help can help tell when to sell gold. It compares how many ounces of gold it would take to amount to a relative gold stock. I learned that if the ratio were 1-to-1, it would be a good time to sell gold and buy stocks. And if it were 47 stocks to 1 ounce of gold, it would be a good time to sell stocks and buy gold. After reading Why Gold, Why Now, I have come to the same conclusion as E.B Tucker.
What's that?
His conclusion is that the dollar one day it'll fail, and that if you own gold, you will be golden. You will still have your wealth. You won't be left. So
it's better to own the real thing than if you do have some.
Yeah, the dollar will be worthless. It'll be about as good as a drawing on a piece of paper. So.
Hey, at least it looks cool.
Yeah. So thank you for listening.
So, do you agree with E.B Tucker, or what do you think?
I agree with E.B Tucker.
Did you learn any of this kind of stuff before in other books? School books? Or
no, I didn't. I've only learned it by reading this book. I've been told a little bit about it, but I didn't know what's the word? I didn't know how important it is to own gold. Because I took it for, I don't have to own gold really. But reading the book, it proved, okay, yeah, it's more important than I took it. So I'm glad I read it, and my comment on it is, if you think it's going to be a boring read, I didn't think it was boring.
Is it a book for kids or adults, or?
Not for a kindergartner, but maybe any kid my age or a little younger, it shouldn't be that boring unless they're. Yeah, it's not boring to me. I thought it was a good story, good lesson.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like learning in a school book. So I think.
But it's better because it's easier to read and
Yeah,
it's not boring like a school book. You know,
No,
school books are boring.
Yeah, no, this is like learning history.
Yep.
Because there's history tied into it.
Yep. Well, thanks for doing that report, Tristan, and we'll have you back for another one, for a different book.